Hello, and thank you for joining us. In this short session, we are just going to go over what the Warwick SU Advice Centre is and how we can help you throughout your time as a student at the University of Warwick. So what we will cover today is we will talk about what the Advice Centre is, why we exist, and how we can support you. We'll also go over some case studies from previous clients just to give a little bit of an understanding about how we work and how we have helped students, how our service works, any feedback that you can give us and how we improve our service, and how to contact us if you are ever in need of our support. So the Advice Centre is made up of 4 full-time staff members, so that's 3 welfare advisors, Dee, Charlotte and Bianca, and an Advice Centre manager, Manaz. So when you do access our service, it will be one of our faces who works with you on your case until you have an outcome. So what is the Warwick SU Advice Centre? So as part of the Students' Union, we are a completely independent service from the university. And because we are completely independent, we can offer impartial advice, support and representation that is free of any conflict of interest. We are a free service for all students and we are completely confidential. Because we are impartial, we are non-judgmental and all our advisors are professionally trained in the areas of advice that we offer. We are an information and empowerment service, so we empower students to make informed choices. We will give them guidance on all the options that are available to them, so they can then decide what route to take, what route they feel is in their best interests. And we also act in the best interests of clients when we are representing you. So who do we support? So we support all members of the Students' Union. So that's all students, whether you are on and off campus. So that could be prospective students if you're looking to join the University of Warwick, former students up to 1 year after you have graduated, distance learners, 2+2 students, students studying apprenticeships, and students studying full-time or part-time degrees. So we offer advice over 3 main areas, so that's academic, housing and money. We also offer referrals and signposting. So there are some areas that we're unable to offer advice on. So we are unable to offer advice on wellbeing, so whether that's sexual health, mental health, physical health. We're unable to offer advice on immigration and any visa-related issues. And we also aren't a legal service, so we're not able to offer guidance on legal queries. What we will do in these instances is we will refer you to a more specialist service who's able to support you on these areas if you do come to us. It is worth noting that we are able to support you with the impact that any of these areas might be having on your academic studies, on your finances or on your housing, so we can still support you if there is an element of any of these issues. So starting with academic advice, so we can support students with more informal issues. So for example, if they're looking to change their course, if they have any extension requests that they're looking for, or if there's any little informal issues that don't necessarily need a formal process, we can support you with getting those resolved. We can also support students on a more formal level. So the university has a range of different regulations, which is basically like a rule book that all students are expected to adhere to whilst they're at university. So an example of these different regulations could be academic misconduct. So for example, plagiarism, collusion and cheating. Academic appeals, where students might want to challenge a decision that's been made by the Board of Examiners. If you're on a professionally accredited course, it might be that you are under fitness to practice regulations. Similarly, all students are under student disciplinary regulations, fitness to attend. If you are under any of these regulations, what we can do is we can accompany you to any formal university meetings as a representative to make sure that the university is following the correct process, to make sure that it is a fair process for you, and to act as a support until you receive an outcome. We can also support you with understanding what exactly the process is that you're under, different routes that you can take, and help prepare you to help best present yourself. And just a case study to cover the academic advice that we offer. So in this instance, a student had been invited to an academic integrity meeting and they contacted us for advice. So they had received an allegation of plagiarism. They'd been invited to a fact-finding meeting to find out exactly how this allegation came about and how they worked on the assignment. When the student contacted us, we offered an appointment. We discussed their circumstances, if they were aware of the plagiarism and any personal issues they might have had going on that might have affected their ability in that assignment. We explained the academic integrity process, what the next steps could be and what the potential outcomes could be, and we also accompanied the student to that meeting. So we supported them with best preparing for that meeting so that they felt confident and prepared. We attended the meeting as a support and to make sure that the correct process was followed. In this instance, the student did receive an outcome, so a sanction was applied. The student was dissatisfied with that outcome, so we were then able to support them with appealing that. The appeal was unfortunately declined, but we were then able to support the student with taking that further and complaining to the OIA. So the OIA is an independent body who oversee all higher education institutions and the complaints that are for higher education institutions. So we were able to support that student with taking it further. And as part of the academic advice we offer, so we can offer advice on disciplinary. So if you have been invited to a disciplinary meeting or you've received an accusation that you have maybe done a disciplinary offence, we can advise you on what exactly that process means, what exactly is going to happen from here, and attend any investigation meetings with you. We can help you with preparing your case and represent you through that process, and where appropriate, so for example, if a fair process hasn't been handled, we can advocate. And just a case study to sum up how we can support with disciplinaries. So in this case, a student contacted us following an invitation to a disciplinary hearing because they had been accused of breaching COVID-19 rules and regulations on campus. In this case, we supported the students with understanding exactly what the disciplinary process is. We helped them to prepare for that meeting and we attended that meeting with them. The student did make an admission, so they did admit that they had breached COVID rules and therefore a sanction was applied. And another aspect of academic advice that we can offer is complaints. So if you have any areas of concerns over any experience you've had with a service offered by the university, anything on your course and the level of service that you've received and you'd like to raise those concerns, we can support you from the university's central complaint procedure. So whether that's trying to resolve the issue on an informal level or more formally, we can support you on the different options that are available to you. And moving on to housing, so we offer a range of support with housing. University is often a time where students might sign tenancy agreements for the first time. It might be the first time that they're living alone and independently, and it can be hard to completely understand your rights as a tenant and what that legal document means. We offer a service where we can read over tenancy agreements and advise on what exactly it means, highlight any areas of concern so that you're fully informed when you are considering whether you want to sign that agreement and you can fully make that decision. We can also support students with disputes, so if there's been any deductions made to your deposit that you don't feel are fair and you want to challenge, we can support you with appealing those deductions. We can also support you with getting any disrepair resolved, so if there's any maintenance issues, so for example, mould or damp, or if there's any repairs that need doing in the house, we can support you with getting those resolved in a timely manner. We can also help with other issues such as unlawful eviction, any noise nuisances or any house permit issues that you might be experiencing, and we can advocate on your behalf and speak with letting agents and landlords on your behalf to try and come to a quicker resolution. And just a case study for the housing advice that we offer. So in this case, an international student contacted us because their deposit hadn't been returned at the end of the tenancy. We arranged an appointment with the student, we went over their circumstances and we read over their tenancy agreement and offered the options available to them. Now, in this case, after reading over the tenancy agreement, we found that the deposit hasn't been protected under a deposit protection scheme, and this is a legal obligation. So the student could then go on to claim up to 3 times as much as their original deposit. In this case, what we did was we contacted the landlord directly and we negotiated a successful return of the deposit for the student so that the student didn't then have to seek a legal route and the issue was resolved quicker. And moving on to the money advice. So we offer a range of financial advice. So whether that's student finance related, so if your loan's delayed and you're struggling financially whilst you're waiting to receive that loan, if your circumstances have changed, so for example, if your parents have changed their income and you need to get your means estimate adjusted, or whether you're estranged and you've cut contact from your family and you need to be independent on student finance. We also help with hardship. So if you are struggling financially, and the university does have a range of grants and loans available that students can apply for to support them, and we can support you with that application process. We can also advise on tuition fee debt, any university fines that you might have received, and provide food bank vouchers if you are struggling financially and you are in need of that immediate support. So as mentioned earlier, there are some areas that unfortunately we don't offer advice on, but in these instances we do work very closely with university services and external services. So for example, we work quite closely with the university's wellbeing service, the accommodation service, the student funding team, the report and support service if students have been a victim of a hate crime, and the international office for any visa related queries. We also have quite a close working relationship with external organisations such as housing charities, legal services, etc., that we can signpost students to and refer students to. So in terms of how our service works, so we are a confidential service and we are impartial, and to make sure that we uphold that impartiality and we give you the best quality of advice, we have mechanisms to protect that advice and avoid any conflict of interest. So if a student comes to us and their case has other students involved, so for example, if a student wants to report a fellow student for inappropriate behaviour, what we will do is we will separate those students between advisors and we will create an information barrier. So those advisors do not speak to each other about the cases, they do not find out about the other party's case. So your advisor can make sure that the advice they offer you isn't compromised, and we do offer the best advice that we can give you. And as a service, we also use a case management system to make sure that we are keeping record of all interactions with you, to make sure your advisor can keep track of your case and offer you the best advice. So when you do come to us, we will ask you whether you do give us consent to be able to store your data and manage this confidentially. So as a service, we want to make sure that we're providing the best support that we can for you. So we're committed to continually improving and developing our service to make sure that students receive a professional and friendly service, and we are supporting our members the best we can. We really appreciate any feedback that students can give us, whether you have accessed us and you have any feedback on how we've worked with you and your advisor, or whether you think there's any improvements we could make or any different advice that we need to offer. We really appreciate that, so we can take that anonymous feedback on board and make sure that we are improving to offer you the best support. And how to contact us. So we ask students to complete the online inquiry form. This can be found on the Warwick SU website under help and support, as you can see in the screenshot. We ask students to complete the inquiry form, and advisor will then get back to you within 48 hours, depending on urgency of the inquiry. Once you submit that inquiry form, you'll be allocated an advisor who will stay with you and work on your case until the case is resolved. It's also worth noting that on our website we also have a range of resources and guidance that you can view over academic, finance and housing issues, and guides that you can use that are useful. And thank you for listening.